Hey guys, welcome back, it's Meg. Today we're going to be running a 21 Halls of Atonement on my Mistweaver. You can find my stat weights in the top left, my legendary in the top right, and in the bottom right are my trinkets and talent choices. Our affixes this week are Tyrannical, Bolstering, Storming, with a seasonal affix of Prideful. So because it's bolstering, we are going to get Lust on cooldown, but we're not going to do the big pull that we normally do. This is about half of it, but that's purely because we don't want to bolster anything. Because it is bolstering, this alters our route quite a bit. We are doing smaller, faster pulls instead of bigger pulls that require uncapped AoE. But the main difference is that we are not going to be pulling much into the shards, or we'll at least make sure that we kill the shards first because it is bolstering. And we have about 10 seconds left on Lust, and we're going to go ahead and do the other half of that first pull that we normally do as one. Right here we're going to get these two elite mobs a little bit down before we pull in the little ones. This is again because it's bolstering, and because the little ones have less health, they're going to die about the same time as these are when they're at half. This is just to avoid giga bolstering anything. When you are fighting ads on Storming Week, when there's a lot of tornadoes in melee and you're kind of on a ledge, don't be afraid to drop your Transcendence at the ledge, just in case you fall off. You don't want to have to pull things to get back, or just pull the entire instance back to your group. On this Prideful, I do use Crane. Normally, I would hold it for the next pull, but because it is not fortified, the damage isn't as bad and I can heal through it relatively normally. We also did pull our Stoneborn Goliath into the Pride. This is a good place to drop your Transcendence on these ads. You can line of sight it and you won't be too close to the edge that if you're running you'll just walk off. That's just for safety's sake. I don't think I end up using it here, but if you ever do need to line of sight because of damage, more likely on a fortified week, then you will be able to transcend there and not take the damage, and then also be able to heal your ranged at the same time. Once again, the groundskeepers are pulled separately. We did not want to bolster the shard, so we went ahead and just waited until after the pull. As we're gathering our next pull here, we've got about 30 seconds left on Crane. I encourage you to hold it for this next Prideful, because again, it's not a fortified week, and the only damage that's really going out is dodgeable mechanics and tank damage, so I do encourage you to hold on to Crane for that next Pride. Once again, we'll be using our Crane on this Pride just to make things easy, and then you can heal through the next shard normally with the Prideful buff. This is one of the only bosses right now that I'm comfortable going into with about half of my mana. There's not a whole lot of healing because the majority of it's avoidable with the exception of the Tank Slam and the melees. So you don't have to be super concerned with how high your mana is here, just make sure that you're paying attention to how much single target you need to be doing. For our route, you need to make sure that you have an invis pot ready for right here. That means you can't use an invis pot on the boss or on that previous pack or on the prideful, otherwise it wouldn't be up. The way that we did this boss here was because we have 2 decurses, we went ahead and decursed me every time and whoever has the slam. Unfortunately, I do end up dying here. I was picked for the targeted circle, and I also didn't have a Transcendence down. I get knocked into the air by a Storming spawning, and I'm not able to roll out fast enough. So a way that I could have prevented this was 1, just watching my feet. I didn't see it spawn under the boss, or 2, make sure that you have a Transcendence set either below you if you get targeted with a slam, or out in the corner. Coming up is a really good example of why I am always dispelled, as well as the target, because right here everyone's at about half. Chances are, because he's a priest, he wouldn't live this slam, but because I was dispelled, I was able to get him topped a bit further. I went ahead and used Crane here because we did have 1 more set of adds and not a whole lot of stops, so I do end up using it both for mana sake and throughput sake because I won't need it in the next pull like I normally would because it is tyrannical. Right here, we're going to be pulling both Stoneborn into the boss. We only have one Venthyr player, so the way that you do this is you make sure everyone gets up and through without pulling threat on the gargoyles. And once they are together, as you are the Venthyr player, you just spam click your action button and it will take both of them. This boss, there's not much going on again, so just go ahead and make sure that you are trying to conserve your mana as much as possible just to lessen the drink before going into the next room, because the next room is very demanding on your mana, as there is lots of fixated damage, there are casts, and then you will be going into a prideful straight into the boss. In this next room, you want to make sure that you're applying Mystic Touch to everything. The best way I have found to do this is just to spinning Crane Kick in the middle and then move on to the next. You can bounce over the pews, but you can also just run in between them. It's not that big of a deal. It's not a huge issue in here because all of our damage is magic damage and the Boomkin takes care of most of it. So you don't really have to worry about it with a comp like this, but it is good to just get in the habit of it. This is one of those pridefuls that you will rarely see me use Crane here, so we're just going to go ahead and heal this normally. We want to try and save all of our defensives or immunities, particularly for magic on the next fight, because we want to make sure that we are getting those soaks and that we're staying healthy during that. So one of those is going to be Crane, and then the other one is going to be Revival and regular healing. On this boss as well, I asked our Boomkin to hold on to Heart so he can heal during the second set. He offered to use it during the Prideful, and that's another option. It really just depends on if it's Tyrannical or Fortified, or if you think that you'll end up needing Heart at all. Going into our first ritual, I did pop Crane a little bit late. I didn't get too much of a chance to spread my enveloping breaths, but it ends up being okay. We're going to throw Bone Dust Brew on the melee for yourself, the tank, and for the boss, and we're just going to go ahead and use some of our immunities and defensives for this one. On this ritual, it's really important to make sure that you have your renewing mists out on the people that will be soaking the beams. We also want to be mindful of storming, so we will have someone double soak, and then we will have a backup. As you can see, we had a tornado spawn in melee, but I was the backup for the tank, so it ended up working out. We used our second ice block because she is a frost mage, and then I went ahead and used diffuse and revival there to keep everyone topped. And you only ever have to deal with 2 rituals, so we can go ahead and just make sure that we are staying on top of our tank healing and topping off anyone that gets hit by these statues.